Full spoilers for the Lord of the Rings Commander Precons are out, and each deck has 20 new cards just for Commander. Here's my top 10 favorite new cards for Commander. For this list, I'm excluding the face commanders. I already did a video talking about them. Here's a card to that if you want to check it out. And this list isn't in any particular order. These are just the cards that I think will see the most play and I like the most. Alright, let's get into the list. Starting with the Black Gate, a legendary gate that enters the battlefield tapped unless you pay 3 life. It taps for a black, and you can pay black and 1, tap, choose the player with the most life, or tied, and then target creature can't be blocked by creatures that player controls. I think this is a straight up free roll in most decks. If you have black in your deck, you probably just want one of these. It can enter untapped if you really need it to, and it just taps for a black mana, which is fine. It's basically a swap at that point. And then, as long as you don't have the most life, you can use this to chip away at the player who does have the most life. And there's a lot of fun politics you can do here. If one of your opponents has a really large creature, you can probably convince them to attack the player with the highest life total pretty easily. And a lot of times, they'll take a free attack. Not to mention that this is a gate, so it does have gate synergy if you want to play like a Maze's End deck, which is really fun. I love getting more gates. Another awesome card is Prize Pig. 2 mana for an 0/3 that taps for 1 mana of any color. Now normally a 2 mana mana dork seems pretty bad, but this one also gets a ribbon counter for every life you gain. Then, if there are 3 or more ribbon counters, remove those and untap it. Now this is going to be really powerful in life gain decks. You can play a card that gains you life, which will then untap the pig, getting you another mana, and then you can attack with lifelink creatures, triggering the pig again, untapping it again. And if you can tap this 2, 3, 4 times in a turn, well then this is a really powerful ramp spell. I think a lot of life gain decks are really going to want this, and food decks as well, because food gains you 3 life, and you can trigger that at instant speed. An example of a life gain deck that might want the pig is Bilbo Birthday Celebrant. Abzan for a 2/3 halfling rogue. Whenever you would gain life, gain that much plus 1 instead. And then you can pay Abzan and 2, exile Bilbo, search your library for any number of creature cards, and put them onto the battlefield, then shuffle. Only activate if you have 111 life or more. So this is a really fun way to win. Putting every creature from your deck into play is absolutely hilarious. Now, with Bilbo, you're going to want to have many instances of gaining life, as opposed to gaining a lot of life in one go. Extort is a great way to gain little bits of life at a time that Bilbo will continually tack 1 onto. Another new card that I think is going to be a very popular commander card is Raise the Palisade. 4 mana for a sorcery, in blue, choose a creature type. Return all creatures that aren't of the chosen type to their owner's hand. So this is great in any tribal deck. Oftentimes this can be a one-sided board wipe, especially if you have a really obscure tribe, like crabs or something. Then you can easily bounce every other creature to its owner's hand. But here's another fun bit. You don't even need to be in a tribal deck. Let's say your commander has a weird type, like a wall or something, then you can bounce all non-walls to their owner's hand. I feel like there's a lot of situations where you can keep one creature that you want in play and bounce almost everything else, which makes this pretty powerful. The Gaffer is a 3 mana 2/3 in white. It's a legendary creature Halfling Peasant that says at the beginning of each end step, if you gained 3 or more life this turn, draw a card. So this is awesome in a life gain deck, and actually a pretty decent life gain commander by itself. You're going to want ways to gain life at instant speed so you can trigger this on each end step and potentially draw 4 cards a turn cycle. Food is an excellent way to do this, and I think that's what the card was designed for. But there are other ways to trigger this as well. Just having life gain creatures and being able to block or attack will trigger it pretty easily. I really like this card a lot for any life gain deck. Even if you're only drawing 1 or 2 cards a turn cycle, it's still pretty good for a 3-drop. And we usually don't see this kind of card draw on a mono-white card. Trap the Trespassers is a fun Secret Council card. 2 and a blue for an instant with Secret Council, which has each player secretly vote for a creature you don't control. Then those votes are revealed. For each creature with 1 or more votes, put that many stun counters on it, then tap it. So this is a great politics card. Basically, you can cast it and then try and get the whole table to target the biggest creature you don't control. Now, the player that controls that creature is going to choose something else, presumably, but they can't choose your stuff. This can never backfire against you. And these are the kind of voting cards that I really like. At worst, you always get to tap down for 2 turns a creature you want to tap down. And then other creatures your opponents control also gets tapped down. It's really almost always a win-win situation. I think this card is a lot more powerful than it looks, and I'm definitely going to be testing it out. Speaking of testing, we have the field-tested Frying Pan. White and 2 for an equipment. When it enters the battlefield, create a food token, then create a 1/1 halfling and attach the frying pan to it. Equipped creature has, whenever you gain life, this creature gets +X until end of turn, where X is the amount of life you've gained. So cracking a food token will give a creature +3/+3, but this can go way more. If you play something like Beacon of Immortality and double your life total, you could potentially be giving a creature +40/+40, or even more. Life gain cards that gain a lot of life can turn anything equipped to the frying pan into a lethal threat, especially if it's your commander. I think this card is going to be knocking out players in the right deck. Cavern Horde Dragon is an awesome card. 7 red for a 6/6 dragon. This spell costs X less, where X is the greatest number of artifacts an opponent controls. Flying, trample, and haste. Whenever the dragon deals damage to a player, you create a treasure token for each artifact that player controls. I think very often this is going to cost at least 3 less, probably even 4 towards the late game. I don't think you're ever really going to be paying full price. Someone's going to have a few mana rocks in play. And then with flying, trample, and haste, this is going to connect easily and create treasure tokens. Not to mention, if you play up against an artifact deck, it's very easy for this to cost just 2 mana, hit them, and then create, 7 treasures. This could end up being a ritual. I think this card's really strong, can easily slot into dragon decks, treasure decks, honestly a lot of places. This card seems really good. Another card I love is 2 Greedily Too Deep. Black-red 5 for a sorcery. Put target creature from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. That creature deals damage equal to its power to each other creature. I think this card's awesome. I really love theft style cards and reanimation, and this is that, but it comes with a one-sided board wipe. Well, not quite one-sided. I suppose it hits your creatures too. Theft style decks oftentimes don't have that many of their own creatures in play anyway. This is an awesome late game threat where you're just gonna yoink something big in the graveyard, kill a bunch of creatures, and have a new creature for you to attack with. I don't think this card is super powerful. This kind of reminds me of the Black Primordial, except it gets less creatures, but is kind of a board wipe. It's a really fun card in Casual Commander. The last card I want to talk about is Taunt from the Rampart. 3 red/white. A sorcery that says goad all creatures your opponents control. Until your next turn, those creatures can't block. I really like this card. You can essentially target an opponent and then swing all out at them since they can't block. And then they have to swing all out at not you. This is a really great card to just deal big damage to multiple opponents. I feel like this is going to be a really powerful finisher in a lot of decks, because after you swing in at them and they swing out at someone else, their stuff will be tapped for the next turn for you to just finish them off. Taunt for the Rampart is probably going to end a lot of games one way or another, and I really appreciate that. I wish it wasn't Boros though, because now I can't put it in my mono red goad deck. So those were my 10 favorite new cards from the Commander Precons, but there are 70 other new ones. Let me know some of your favorites in the comments below. If you wanted to see my top 10 from the main set, I did a video on that as well. Here's a card if you want to check that out. Thank you so very much for watching. Subscribe for more.